Capricorn, I hope you guys are doing great today. This is going to be a reading for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Risings. I hope you're all doing fantastic. My name is Jackie. For those of you who are new here, I'm a Western Whole House astrologer, and I'm here to give you your astrology forecast for the month of May. So we have so much to unpack. Oh my gosh, because we have retrograde season, we have eclipse season, we have all of this stuff going on. But before we get into things, a couple of things. Get a lot of emails about which sign. A lot of people want to know which sign they should primarily focus on: sun, rising, or moon. If you only have time, well, let's understand the difference between the three. Your rising sun really does rule your entire astrological chart. And it does dictate all of the house placement. So it's likely going to resonate with you the most overall. Your sun sign is going to address on a pragmatic level your career, your overall life goals. Really does have to do with more like your ego consciousness. Whereas your moon pertains more to your emotional needs. And it really does indicate a lot of what circumstances that might be going on at home, having to do with your family life. Now, if you only have time to watch one sign, I always do recommend watching your rising sign, because that will be the most relevant. But remember, guys, this is a general forecast, not taking into account how the current transits are speaking to your personal natal chart. Now, if you have a Taurus or Gemini, even though this is a Capricorn reading, if you maybe are Gemini sun, or Gemini sun, moon, or rising, or a Taurus sun, moon, or rising, you get 25% off of all of my readings for the month of May. The link to my booking site is in the description box below. I mean, I'm open for all readings, but they're the birthday babies of the month, so I'm giving them that discount. Okay, so let's get into stuff. Let's unpack this month. There's a lot to talk about. So when I ended the April reading, I ended it with the new moon solar eclipse in Taurus. And I actually want to start this reading with that again, just as a little reminder, because depending on which part of the world you live in, you're experiencing it on the 30th or the 1st. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter. This is such a powerful eclipse because it's happening along the axis of the nodes of the moon, that we're feeling it before it hits. It's going to be rolling out 3 to 6 months after. There is so much beautiful support of energy happening this month, guys. Seriously, a couple of obstacles, but let's get into it. Let's start with this Taurus energy. So it's the new moon solar eclipse in Taurus. This is a partial. And again, the 30th or the 1st, depending on where in the world that you live. And we're really going to be very pushing. You're having it in your 5th house. So the 5th house has to do with falling in love, love affairs, romance, especially for those of you who are single, has to do with any sort of creative endeavor that you're trying to take on, or that you're at least thinking about. Maybe something is marinating in your mind that you want to launch something, or you want to actually start and manifesting some sort of idea in a more tangible form. 5th house also has to do with your children. It has to do with your hobbies, anything that has to do with expansion. But in short, the 5th house, the landlord is Leo, ruled by the sun. It's all about your joy. It's all about joy and just happiness and feeling happy. So with this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus is going to be in Taurus. Taurus is the energy of self-esteem. It's the energy of the money that we make from the work that we do, our work ethic, our possessions, what matters to us, how we nurture ourselves, literally. So the food we put in our mouth in that 5th house, we like to have fun in the 5th. So maybe, do we any kind of like, eating out a lot, drinking a lot, going out and partying, anything like that. All of that stuff's going to be looked at. Not that you can't do that, but there's going to be, just giving those as examples, because Taurus is literally about how you nurture yourself, maybe through meditation, through yoga, through, massages, through taking care of yourself, your health, anything like that, eating really good food, versus maybe not eating such good food, or not, maybe drinking too much, anything like that, right? Because there could be an energy of overindulgence in that 5th house energy. So we're all going to be asked, wherever this eclipse is hitting us, right, with the Taurus energy, that part of our life, we're being asked to look at how we can increase our feeling of self-worth in that space. So increasing your sense of self-worth and your confidence, and being able to start your own business, to launch that idea. Maybe you already have your own business, or you're already in a career, but you're looking to expand yourself, but you're feeling very trepidatious and not very sure of yourself. This eclipse is going to be pushing. Why do you feel like that? that? What's getting in the way? And it's going to be, you also on the other side of the spectrum, it's going to be calling into focus anything that you can identify that gives you a false sense of security. That relationship, that thing that you do for fun. Again, fifth house has to do with for fun. Any circumstance, again, going on with children. Any of your children, by the way, Capricorn, because whatever is transiting your fifth house would be indicative of what can be going on in the life of your children. So in your fifth house, you have the North Node in Taurus as well as Uranus in Taurus. So there's big changes going on over the next like year and a half in the lives of your children. Good stuff, though. It's the North Node, so it's all good stuff. So I like to deliver good news when I can. so that's really nice. Now, sometimes eclipses bring on events. That force us into positions for reevaluation. So a lot of you are going to be forced into this position where you have to reevaluate your joy and what it is that you're doing for fun or what you're doing creatively, or maybe you're being forced to look at your business differently. And if it's not about re-strategizing, some of you may be like, you know what, it's time that I close this up and I open that, right? Whatever it is. Again, anything that has to do with anything that you create, there's going to be a revisiting of it. And you're going to be evaluating where you've been complicating your life by some sort of unhealthy fill in the blank. It'd be an unhealthy attraction, unhealthy predicament. Maybe you feel very stuck in an unhealthy situation having to do with your business or having to do with that relationship, or some sort of unhealthy situation having to do with your children right now. Because it's in Taurus, it could even be, and because it's the house of fun, fifth house is the house of fun, any sort of overindulgence in alcohol or food or anything like that. And where you are, you're exercising those behaviors in an attempt to actually make yourself feel more content and comfortable. But in this eclipse, it's going to be like, well, you know what? I feel very supported now to actually like at least do less of that, if not give that up altogether. I'm really going to look at this relationship or how I approach romance or how I approach the situation having to do with children. And you're going to be looking at where do you make things harder than they need to be, because there's going to be this really strong focus on this idea of comfort and pleasure. And not only and in the fifth house, it's with yourself as well as with other people who are important to you. So in relationships and children, is you want to feel this healthy connection to these people in your life. Now, this eclipse is ruled by Venus. So Venus also rules your 10th house, and Venus rules your 10th house and your fifth house. So you're really thinking very long-term here. This eclipse is going to bring long-term ramifications, right? Because that 10th house is the highest point in your chart. Now, 10th house is also career, public reputation, standing in the world. So this could certainly mean that Capricorn, you might be looking to start some sort of new project that is very slated to bring you into the future in a very beneficial way, where it ends up where you end up more recognized, you're out there, you're making more money, you're very respected, and you're seen a lot more than maybe you are right now. So this is really good. But there have to be, because it's an eclipse, right? Something's got to end so that something else could come in. And so this eclipse is going to have you looking. Fifth house is big, right? I mean, it's many things, everything that I indicated. Where are there flaws in your life? Because basically the fifth house is your joy. So I want you to sit quietly with yourself and think about all the systems in your life, your relationships, your career, your relationship with your siblings, because that's going to be a big positive thing this month for those of you who are in a weird space with older siblings. I do want to say that. I'll get to that in a moment, though. How are you feeling in these structures, these important systems, friendships, family, all of that, right? Where are the flaws? Where are the fissures? Because they're going to be revealed in this eclipse. And it's going to be prompting you to start fresh or to redo or to at least heal. Something, again, has to end in order for something else to come in. Now, with Chiron and Aries transiting your fourth house of home, real estate, it's also the energy of your first family. And because the South Node is in Scorpio in the 11th house rules older siblings, I do feel like this eclipse is going to be really kicking off some necessary healing with an older sibling, even though there might be some wonky communication in the process, but ultimately it's going to bode very well for you. But I'll address that again a little bit more as we go along. Now, the tricky part of this, though, is that, like I mentioned, we're going to have to give something up in order to bring something new in, but that new thing is probably not going to be completely recognizable right now. So it's so important to stay open and allow the necessary surrender to the unknown. Allow it to happen. You don't have to have all of the answers right now. Now, because this is happening so close to the North Node, I personally think this is going to be a lot easier to deal with, at least in the beginning of the month, for sure. You're going to have a stronger sense that you're growing, that you're going in the right direction, that you're improving. And guys, this is even if you're ending things. So even if you're making a decision to leave that, or release something, it's like, no, I'm releasing it now because I feel ready to release something because it's not in alignment with where I need to go. And it's almost the kind of energy where it's like, man, did I try? It's almost like that 8 of Cups energy where it's like, yes, I tried, and I'm just not going to get where I want to go in this job, in this relationship, having to do with this situation, whatever it is. And it's recognizing that and allowing the release, but you might not be sure what's on the other side of it. I just do want to say that. Now, this is also going to be trying Pluto retrograde. So Pluto retrograde is actually happening in your first house of self. So I like Pluto retrograde a lot better than when Pluto's direct. He's much more chill. And Pluto does rule your, Saturn does rule your chart, but with Pluto in there as well, there is this idea of looking at a change in responsibilities and a change in life structures in a way that's going to ultimately end up nurturing you. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be in this very interesting space. May is very interesting. And I'm just going to say like a couple of like the thesis, right, of the month is unapologetic. Whatever happened, happened. I don't have to allow my past to dictate my future. And it's going to be this very confident, because what's going on with Aries and Jupiter, which I'll speak about in a moment, it's going to be this very confident energy. So what I like about this is there's definitely going to be a glass half full kind of vibe to the whole month, even though there's going to be what's going to feel like a lack of stability and a lack of clarity, because seriously, there is. Because Pluto retrograde, Mercury retrograde, going back and forth between Gemini and Taurus, and then the eclipses. It's like, what? Things are going to chill out a lot more by the middle of June. But what I've been saying in all the videos, though, May, it is 5 steps forward, and then you're going to stand there and you're just going to look around. But there is going to be forward movement. Okay, there's going to be a lot of fire energy that's going to be pushing you forward. So definitely reassessing the structures in your life and citing change with that Pluto retrograde in the first is very slow to sit down and say, okay, Pluto retrograde can function very similarly to Saturn. Pluto retrograde and Uranus retrograde are very similar to Saturn, where it's this idea of let's slow down, change is happening, but we have to look at what do we have to do? Let's look at building blocks. Let's be very chill and let's not be flippant or too reactive, right? That is that kind of energy, okay? Now, May 2nd, Venus enters Aries, and Aries is your 4th house energy. And in this, I love this energy. Venus entering Aries, 4th house is ruled by the moon. It's Lunar, it's mother, it's there's like Jupiter is going to be popping in here. I don't know. I just feel like, you Sagittarius, definitely primed energy to get pregnant. So if you are trying to conceive, awesome energy there. If you're not, be careful, be careful there. This is a very bold and fresh and very, again, fiery energy, Aries is very fire. It's the first sign. It's come on, let's go. It's courageous. And Venus is very much about growth and moving forward. Now, remember, Aries is ruled by Mars. So it's like Venus entering Aries, Mars energy. And those two together, it's very powerful. It's very focused on, damn it, I'm going to be happy no matter what, right? And figuring out what that means for you. And in the 4th house, you're going to be looking at your home where you live. Maybe you're going to be thinking about moving, or you're going to be thinking about expanding, or you're going to be beautifying it. Maybe you're going to be beautifying outside, getting ready for the summer, or you might decide to give like a total, like really deep, clean refresh. But where it's going to make you feel so good. It's just going to make you feel so good. Some of you, again, will be moving, depends on what else is is going on in your chart. I really wouldn't be surprised if you're moving, though, also because Jupiter is going to be entering Aries by the end of the month. And Venus is going to be in there, with Venus in there, everybody's in there. And it's going to be, the thing is, whatever's going on in this fourth house energy for you, as I mentioned a few moments ago, it's going to have a healing element because Chiron and Aries is in there. So, and it's a wound of self. So whatever change is going to be taking place, it's kicking up this wound that's really going to be, that's going to be able to be healed in this energy. So I do like that. So think definitely a very strong desire for feeling connected within the home. The strong desire, though, to expand as well. Yeah, I just do feel like a lot of you are either going to be, you're doing work on your house. Let's just leave it there. Either that or you're moving. So stuff is going on having to do with the house. And you're going to feel very, very fiery about it. Now, the only thing you want to be careful is with your money in this energy, because your tastes are going to be very towards very specific, beautiful things, right? But this is it's an Aries, so it's very impulsive energy. So you can be kind of impulsive with your money or even your entertainment choices that are going on at home. So you could be throwing some, some big parties or something like that, which is great and fun, but you just want to make sure that you actually have the resources to pull it off without regretting it, right, for the next month. So again, that's happening in your fourth house, but Venus also rules your fifth and your 10th house. So the fifth house is joy. Fifth house has to do with romance. It also has to do with creativity. 10th house has to do not only with career, public reputation, but it can be your marriage. It can be, again, your long-term goals. So that fourth house, fifth house, 10th house, whatever it is that whatever's going on in the home is meant to increase your joy over the long term, is meant to, some of you may be building out a studio where you're working at home. And you're going to be able to be really, really creative. That's going to end up impacting your long-term career and your standing in the world. You understand? Like that's the different ways that this can end up manifesting here. So really nice. Now, next we have Jupiter is in the third, sextiling retrograde Pluto in the first. So Jupiter is going to be at 28 degrees Pisces. It's forming a sextile with Pluto at 28 degrees in Capricorn retrograde in your first house. And that's happening on May 3rd. This is a one-off transit, guys. This means it's going to be powerful. It's not going to repeat 2 more times like a lot of the other outer planet transits do. And so here you're going to be discovering like, oh my gosh, just your ambitions, your motivations to improve, grow, and bring something to the next level. And this is going to be really powerful for you guys because Pluto is going to be such a friend. And when he's retrograde in this energy in the first house of self, it's just going to be like, all right, Capricorn, we're going to do this. We're going to change. We're going to manifest this change in that third house. Jupiter in the third, expansion. Third house has to do with your neighborhood, your neighbors. Again, you might be moving, learning something new, but like being really good at it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like learning a new program, learning something new. Communications, busy as anything. When Jupiter is in the third house, busy, 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 busy. Okay. Jupiter in the third house is also siblings. Pluto retrograde in the first. So there can certainly be this expansion of understanding, expansion of communication with your siblings and your extended family. And because we have the South Node in Scorpio, and the South Node is about releasing drama, rumination, fears, manipulation, condescension, things that are challenging and dark and dirty and secret in that house, especially older siblings. There can be a lot of healing going on at this time with older siblings. I mean, that could certainly be one way that this Jupiter sextile Pluto retrograde is going to manifest. For others of you, just really busy communication, the moving something forward, having to do with getting something out there. So any of you who are in the space of either formulating a website, maybe starting a channel, a podcast, doing anything online, maybe anything having to do with like digital media, anything like that, that's all third house stuff, because those are all modes of communicating. Excellent energy to launch that book. Excellent to get published. Great energy for putting your work out there. Unbelievable. And again, with Pluto retrograde is allowing the transformation, but it's allowing it in a way that's going to feel good. Okay. So I really like this for you, especially if you have been having to do with anything in the area that I've been talking about: siblings, extended family, learning something new, launching something, getting something out there. If you've been dealing with something that you haven't been able to figure out, where it's been like a long-standing problem or issue regarding that relationship, regarding maybe even finances, right? Some sort of long-standing issue. And you maybe you didn't even recognize it in the past, so that you could effectively unpack it. This is going to allow you to do it. And because of that, obviously, that problem solving is going to end up pushing you and result in a new direction, or just a new, more successful approach in the handling of something. So I really like that. Now, Mercury then goes retrograde in Gemini, which is in your 6th house. And that happens on May 10th to June 3rd. But we always want to remember the pre and post shadow with that Mercury energy. So, Mercury is going to be in pre shadow, I mean, like now, right? The end of April is already in pre-shadow. It'll be in post shadow till like June 18th or so. So this is going to be going on in your 6th house. Again, if you see me looking down, I'm just looking at your chart here. So Gemini, which is a Mercury ruled energy in your 6th house. But Mercury also rules your 9th house, right? Of negotiating, advertising, marketing, launching, higher education, foreign land, foreign travel. It also rules the energy of father. It rules the energy of in-laws. That's all 9th house energy, right? So because Virgo is a Mercury ruled energy, you may be starting the month where you're getting something going, or at least feel like, even in that pre-shadow, like getting something going, but you might not be able to actually like completely launch it. And let me be really clear, because going back to the Jupiter energy, this month is amazing to do your homework, make all your contacts, your connections, do all the like whatever negotiating you have to do. If you started it before Mercury goes retrograde, this is a great energy to solidify, finalize, go over the fine print, start negotiating, right? Especially if you're needing to maybe, if you are trying to straighten out something in a relationship, maybe even with a friend, because 11th house is also friends, or some sort of situation with somebody that you work with. And just hashing out something having to do with just your goals and gains as well. Sorry that I keep going, but these things are occurring to me as well. Just very positive. So if something started before Mercury went retrograde, Mercury retrograde is a good energy to reconsider, review, reconnect, reconcile. So it could be reconciliation or reconciling the reality of certain things so that you can move forward with greater understanding. You know what I mean? So it's a nice energy to kind of go over things. So some of you may be realizing, yes, awesome. Like maybe I have a publisher, or yes, this is what I want to do. I want to get into, digital fill in the blank, or I want to start a podcast, or whatever it is. And I feel like you're going to be making money because my nose is itchy. I don't know. So go Capricorn, go. That's your message here. But so the idea is going to hit you. You're going to put your ducks in a row. The Mercury retrograde is going to be where you're just going to be planning and strategizing and maybe putting together content. Again, making the connections, doing whatever it is that you have to do, having those reviewing kind of conversations, right? And I actually think that that's going to be really quite good for you, because that ninth house is all about truth. It's about integrity. And Mercury's not going backwards. It just slows down so that we can go within and we can get in touch with what do we really want, get in touch with our integrity, and really get honest with ourselves about what we feel, right? About whatever's going on in our life. So I really like that energy. Don't let Mercury retrograde run me out. Just, look, because it's in your 6th house of health. So I really wouldn't, anytime we have Mercury's in the 1st house or the 6th house, I say if you can avoid any sort of plastic surgery, getting any sort of treatments, anything like that, anything having to do with your health, that's brand new that you haven't done already, really try to avoid it, only because you may realize you're not really happy with the results, or you feel like you have to get it done twice or something like that. So you do just want to be careful there. And if you're getting any sort of diagnosis during Mercury retrograde having to do with any sort of health ailment, get a second, third, or fourth opinion. Don't act on that first one. That first one may end up being correct, but there'll be something that's confusing about it to you. So you're going to want more answers. So you might want to go after, something like that. Also, because it's in the sixth house that rules your day-to-day work environment, obviously, as well as solving problems, so that you could feel a little like heavy in the head in this energy. And this Mercury retrograde is actually going to be that Capricorn, because it's dancing between Gemini and Taurus. It's going to go into Taurus on the 22nd, and it could just be very like sluggish. This is like a very sluggish Mercury retrograde, but it's very mental, right? Because Mercury is our mind. So what's going to be interesting is our 3D outside, right? Outside our body is just going to be Aries and Jupiter and busy, busy, busy. And in our mind, we're just going to be like, I just need a nap. It's just going to be. And what happens here when it does this dance between Gemini and Taurus, you're going to have a hard time feeling completely, I'm not even going to say decisive, because it's not really even confusing. It's sluggish. So almost foggy, if that makes sense. Tired, mentally tired. That's what I want to say. You're almost going to feel mentally drained, especially around the end of the month. So, just look out for that. Not a bad thing though. There's going to be because the energy outside is going to be so amped and so jacked with all of this fire. There's just going to be so much fire that the retrogrades internally are just going to, because retrogrades are always about going within. It's just going to be like, okay, I need to just sit with this for a while. Now Jupiter, so, try not to sign contracts, do all that jam that we always say, if you could avoid, all of those things, right, that we say to watch out for Mercury retrograde. Now, Jupiter enters Aries on May 10th. And this is happening again in your fourth house. Jupiter also was your 12th house. So Jupiter in Aries brings lots of opportunities, new enterprise, new initiatives, new ideas, new. Fourth house, again, you might be moving. You might be getting a really cool set for your yard. Something going on in that fourth house of home, and or something is manifesting in your life that's going to actually incite a feeling of your ability to feel a lot more grounded in your life. A lot more, let me be specific. I don't want to say grounded, more at home, more comfortable in your life. So something's going to be going on here, right, in the month of May, where you're just going to feel like, all right, I feel good. Now, again, going back to the sibling thing, fourth house is also a sibling energy. Third house is siblings, extended family, but the fourth house has to do with our first family as well. So if it's like a sibling or a cousin or, someone, there could be a lot of healing around family issues for Capricorns. I do see going on in this particular retrograde and eclipse season, which is amazing, right? I mean, it's great if that is in fact what you want, if they're worthy of going back to, right? If they're crazy, we all have some of them in the family, but so I really like that energy for you. Now, the only negative manifestation with this Jupiter and Aries energy is, remember, Jupiter expands whatever it's in, and Aries is a very confident energy, which is awesome, especially if you've been feeling a little like chicken to do something, or a little trepidatious, or a little too like earth, be like, I don't know if that's safe enough, or if I have the talent to do that, or if that's able to work, whatever it is, it's going to give you that energy that you need. But there can be this kind of too narrow focus energy, overconfidence, putting the cart before the horse is always a possibility here. Whenever Jupiter is in the house, Jupiter can do that. It's like, feel so positive about something early on before like the papers are signed, before. So you just want to be careful of that. You want to be careful of not learning from past mistakes. You want to be careful that you are not lacking in objectivity to the situation. But what's nice here is one really cool thing about Jupiter, among many things, but one really cool thing that's going to be helpful in this energy, especially because Aries is a very immature energy. It just says it's the baby of the zodiac. Jupiter has the ability to see big picture, and it doesn't focus on the minutia or the pettiness or the little, oh well, that's not right and that's not right. You're not even going to want to bother with that stuff. You'd be very focused on the big picture, and you're able to rise above all of the other stuff, which is great and really an important thing if you're sitting down and you're trying to hash something out with a relationship that's maybe gone south for a hot minute and you really want to reconnect. Not being able to hold on to the minutia is a gift, right? Because you have to recognize the past, but if you stay there, how are you going to move forward, right? So there's got to be this. So I think that this is going to be very helpful because Jupiter is all about moving forward with integrity. It's about expansion and truth, right? It's also about expectations, though. And even though Mercury is retrograde, don't be afraid to lay out some expectations because there's a way of doing it without sounding like a bitchy queen. I expect. You don't have to do that, but just basic, fundamentals. What do you expect, right? Having to do with that relationship, that situation that's going on within your home. What is that bottom line that you're really looking for in that new home that you may be buying if you are that Capricorn? Or how do you really want that expansion to look? Don't be afraid. There's a way of going after it because you're really, whatever you're doing here in this fourth house energy, you want it to be long lasting. You don't want to have to do it twice because it's Taurus. Taurus is all about quality and stability and security. So you want to deal with something and you want to deal with it once and have it be done. So whether you are buying a house, make sure it's a house that you really resonate with. If you're doing some work, if you're buying that set for your yard, don't buy something because the price tag is super low. Buy it, compromise between the low and quality. Same idea having to do with reconciling any sort of relationships in this energy. Same thing. Like, let's deal with what we need to deal with. I don't want any false nonsense, no smoke and mirror. Be super transparent, in a chill way. Again, because Aries is in the house, we have Mercury retrograde. So many of us are going to be dealing, and I'm sure I will be because Mercury rules me, foot and mouth. Let's try not to have that, right? Foot and mouth syndrome here. Think before we speak. So what else did I want to talk about? Oh, so let's talk about the full moon. Total lunar eclipse in Scorpio on May 16th. And this is happening in your 11th house. The moon also rules your 7th house. So this eclipse is going to be a really big one, guys, again, especially because it's going to be so close to the south node of the moon. So something is definitely going to be illuminated here. Now let's talk about, and it's something that's sort of started in that 5th house energy. So there could be this idea of deciding to change a status within a relationship. Okay, for some of you. For others of you, this can be really biting into that creative endeavor so that you can improve 11th house, your goals, your gains, and your salary. Others of you are going to realize that squaring things up with that older sibling or that friend is actually going to help you feel more joyful in your own soul. It's just, maybe it's something that's troubling you, right? So these are the different ways, right, that how this axis can manifest in the 3D. But let's speak a little more specifically about what this polarity actually means. So it does deal with balance. Look, like all of these full moons, new moons, they're always emotional because it's the moons. Moon rules our emotions, right? But this particular polarity deals with the balance between all that is yours and all that is somebody else's, right? So yours, 5th house. So now I do want to say, like, this is going to be and this is just occurring to me off the cuff for you guys, Capricorn. If you're in a relationship and your partner has kids, and if there's been any sort of tension, this eclipse is probably going to end up highlighting that, but in a way where it needs to be healed. Because 5th house Taurus is very much about you and what you have, and 5th house is your children. 11th house can be your stepchildren, right? And 11th house is where Scorpio is, and it's other. So it can be that. But 5th house is also creative energy, creative endeavor, everything that we've been talking about is this fifth house energy. And of course, because we also have the North Node in Taurus and we have Uranus in there, I really do believe that this eclipse is really going to be kicking off the manifestation of this nodal axis that we're going to be feeling roll out by the middle of July of 2023. And the gift, Capricorn, for you guys is going to be in that fifth house of joy. It's going to be something very new, very different. So maybe you're having a baby, maybe you're meeting somebody new and you're going to get very serious rather quickly, or you're at least going to identify that you guys have so much in common, or you're biting into that entrepreneurial activity. It's going to be very successful for you, but it's just going to take this year to really roll out. But so much optimism going into this energy, right? But there is this idea, this balance of what matters to you, what matters to others. Okay. Fifth house, 11th house. Again, you know, you and other people. Scorpio energy is very focused on transformation, whereas Scorpio is very, whereas Taurus is much more about form and things that are tangible. So fifth house, things that are tangible, right? That bring you joy, that you create, right? Things that are very tangible in that way. And the release has to be in the 11th house. So for many of you, you may be releasing during this eclipse so that you can welcome new, releasing something that you did for money, an approach to, because the 11th house also has to do with your 10-year, 15-year goal, you know, your goals, your gains, all of that, right? So there could be a swapping out of energies there. So the transformation is happening in that 11th house, right? And the gain is coming in that fifth house, okay? So something, you're creating something, but there's got to be something that's also releasing. And the thing is, you have to, I'm telling you, you're going to get why is my nose so itchy? Money, money and connection for you guys. Wow, really, really cool. You can't ignore either end of this polarity. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to think about, so like here, right? Here's your chart, right? So here we have, so this is your fifth house, if you guys could see this, right? It's your fifth house. And then your 11th house, right? So you want to think about yourself almost like on a teeter-totter in the middle, trying to balance these two out. So you're going to have to balance out the situation with that friend, that family member, that goal that you might be needing to readjust. Something needs to be released that's been creating rumination, fear, anxiety, anything like that, that's got to be released, right? And there's got to be this balancing out, right, of these things. There's got to be this allowance of transformation. Everybody's got to kind of be on the same page with this if you're dealing with another person. Now, over the coming months, you are going to realize, because again, there's a lot of declarations that are be coming out. I realize this is what I want to do. This, I don't want to do this anymore, right? It's these epiphanies, these declarations, but initially, because it's coming from your space of emotions, you're not really going to be clear on what the hell you're even talking about initially. You're just going to know that new is coming in. You're going to have an outlined blueprint of where it is that you want to go, but you might not have all of the specifics ironed out yet right now. That's okay. It's enough to just understand that you're going in another direction, because these new ideas, these epiphanies that are going to be coming out, they're not going to be particularly rational yet. They're just not, you know. And because this set of eclipses is falling along that Taurus Scorpio axis, you know, really from November of 2021 to October of 2023, it holds more weight, you know, and it's one of the several cosmic pushes that we're getting towards understanding and improving, you know, in a more solid way, our attachment, our finances, our intimate life, our friendships, all the connections that we're having in our life that are going to take us over the long term. And, you know, the full moon really does illuminate stuff. These are issues that are already there. It's not like anything new, but maybe you just haven't dealt with it yet. But you're really going to be feeling this focus, though, on that axis, the fifth house, 11th house. Now, this lunar eclipse is in great harmony with Mars, Neptune, and Pluto, which I love, even though it's forming a square with Saturn. Saturn is also in a T-square with the nodes. So I'm going to talk about that. But let's talk about the harmony first. So Mars is in your third house, but also rules your fourth house. And this is a very like get up and go, very confident energy. So you're going to be doing, again, very busy energy around the home, around communicating, busy time with family, friends. Again, anything having to do with around the home, around your neighborhood. You might be going on some day trips. You might be You might just be really busy working online too, from home. That could certainly be it, super busy there. Now, Neptune is in your third house and is your third house ruler. So Neptune, there could be this, in the third house, there can be this allowance of yourself to go there, right? But listen, I do want to say that for some of you, how this can manifest, because Neptune is a very sacrificial energy. And in the house of siblings, extended family, of learning, you may feel like, or be in the space of trying to heal and work through some sort of pain or area where you feel like you've had a sacrifice, or you have maybe not been treated very fairly in this relationship, and you're going to have to look at that, and that's just going to have to be something that you sift through, and you have to weigh out, how important is this relationship to me, and can I just accept that whatever happened in the past does not have to dictate the future, and maybe just have a different version of a relation, of a connection with that sibling, that extended family member, that old friend. That's also third house, old friends. This could also be in the area of communication, where you feel like your words are misunderstood, and that could be because of what you're going through with Mercury retrograde, where you are feeling like the words that are coming out of your mouth are maybe being used against you, or that's been a circumstance in the past that you have to sit down and actually solve and have the conversation about, right? And that idea can be tripping you up a little bit. You can actually process that a bit internally. So make sure that you just sort of do with that what's healthy for you in the moment. But we do have it, it's a very close aspect to this Mars energy, so it's no joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's going to be a lot of fire. There's just going to be a lot of fire energy there. Now, Pluto is in that first house, also ruling your 11th. Again, nice energy for you overall, but when it comes to this eclipse, it is going to be squaring it. So no, I'm sorry, it's going to be trining it, sextiling. Well, it's going to be sextiling, yes, sextiling and trining it. So that's going to be really good. It's the Saturn energy that I wanted to talk about. So whatever change is coming in, it's going to be very supportive because of that Pluto retrograde. But Saturn in Aquarius in your second house, this is going to be squaring the eclipses, and it's also going to be squaring the north and south node. And Aquarius has to do with, again, that 11th house energy, goals and gains, where it is that you're going, your friends, your older sibling energy. And that Saturn energy could be very stuck. It could be very restrictive. And the second house has to do with your sense of self, your sense of self-concept. So don't be surprised if you're sitting down with these people to have this conversation and you feel kind of shitty about yourself, where it's like just being in the person's presence, all of a sudden you feel small again, or you feel very vulnerable again, and you're like, oh geez, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. So just understand that that's just this transit, and I really recommend that you forge forward anyway. I feel like you're going to ultimately feel better, because this energy is sextiling Chiron. It's in a semi-sextile to Chiron. So something's going to be very healing about whatever it is that you're going through. Others of you are going to be in the space where you're going to feel very restricted having to do with your money, and you're like, okay, I got this creative idea, goals and gains are over here, and you may feel very restricted in your ability to roll something out, because you have to work A, B, and C over here in order to maybe pay your bills and take care of your life right now, but yet you really want to move forward in another way. So you're going to be trying to figure out how to actually do both. Work whatever it is that you need to work in your life right now, as well as develop some sort of, fill in the blank, whatever it is that you're going to be making money, because my nose is itchy again, but you're going to be making money, you're going to be creating something new. And I'm not really mad at this T-square. I feel like, I have found that, any sort of squares, T-squares, regular squares, it doesn't really matter. Oh my goodness, it doesn't really matter. It really is about maturity, right? It's about maturity, and it's about the ability for something to mature, and us approaching something from a more mature stance. As we roll something out. And so there's a slower energy of assessment, responsibility, not putting the cart before the horse, because Saturn is a slower energy. And you know what, guys, sometimes we want that, because wherever Saturn hangs, there's an energy of lasting. right? And we want that, right? In the second house, right? So who doesn't want that, right? So now we have the sun entering Gemini on May 20th until the 21st. So that's going to be happening in your sixth house. Wherever the sun transits, that's the focus for that time period for you. So the focus is going to be on your mental, physical, and emotional health. So maybe doing something different, a new workout regimen, changing the way you eat, whatever it is, maybe getting in front of some sort of unhealthy behavior that you're doing in that area, but it could also be focusing on your day-to-day work. It definitely is going to be a very, very busy time for you. There's no question about that, for sure. So very curious time, very intelligent time, very optimistic, feeling more optimistic about your day-to-day work environment. You're going to be very adaptable, which is really, really nice. You're going to be thinking about different ways of approaching your daily experience. In this energy too, in Gemini, we're always very prepared to like trade, share, exchange. Gemini is very like that, right? Because remember, Gemini is the energy of sibling, and it's like like the healthy sibling where it's like, let's share, let's be family, like, and so there's this energy of like wanting to come together and engaging, and being able to easily adapt to something, which is nice. The only little caveat here, which is unlike you, but I feel like it has a lot to do with the fact that Mercury is retrograde. You may experience yourself to be just a smidge, maybe a little irresponsible in your day to day. Not so much in a bad way. I feel like it's just going to be because you're more tired. It's like, yeah, I know I have to do all this stuff. I know I have the lists. I have, like, you have the list, in your head, you know exactly what you have to do. And then it's like, do I have to really do that? Or you could just be feeling kind of sluggish and a little tired. So, be patient. Mercury retrograde is not going to last. And then Mercury retrograde, okay, leaves Gemini, goes into Taurus, and that's going to be in your fifth house. So when Mercury's in Taurus, our thinking is very down to earth. It's very solid, practical, grounded, common sense, rules over pie in the sky ideas when it comes to any fifth house energy, experiences. So you're going to be very practical in your ability to create any sort of business, how you're approaching some sort of creative endeavor. Very earthy when it comes to approaching relationships, when it comes to approaching your children, all fifth house stuff. Totally earthy, very grounded, and really wanting tried and true. You're not going to be very open to trying new things that are completely out of your wheelhouse, but you guys don't really like doing stuff like that anyway. No earth sign does, but tried and true methods are definitely going to be ruling the day when it comes to your joy, when it comes to your creativity. It's like, oh, I'll totally do that because I know how to use that program already. Or yeah, well, I'm, if you're alone, right? If you're alone, this energy can definitely be like, oh, I wonder how that person's doing from my past, and getting like, a bug in your bonnet to like call an ex, was it? Because like that's tried and true. At least you know what you're getting with them instead of going out and meeting somebody new. Even though you have so much positive energy to go out and meet somebody new, when Mercury, which is very much about connection and communication, is retrograde in the fifth house, right? That's going to be about love and your daily experience and all of that because of what Mercury rules. You could be thinking about or hearing from somebody from your past. Shocking too, because it's going to be aspecting Uranus and the North Node. So you may not see it coming. You may not see it coming. That's going to be for a lot of you. But so definitely, but again, as I mentioned, right, Mercury retrograde in Taurus can make you feel kind of sluggish mentally, right? You just don't feel as sharp as you normally do. And you're almost going to feel like things suddenly slow down, right, in that area of your life, in the fifth house area. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of the slowdown because of the retrogrades, that Pluto retrograde, the Mercury retrograde. Take advantage and check in with yourself. How are you feeling about yourself? How are you feeling about what's going on in the life of your kids, that creative project, you want the romance in your life, and really doing like a take stock and kind of checking the temperature there. Now, next we have Mars entering Aries on May 4th, and this is going to be happening in your fourth house. And Mars is very at home in Aries, rules Aries. So this is a huge power boost for anything going on in that fourth house. So if you're working at home, awesome. If you're moving, great. If you're redecorating, awesome. Relationships within your home, amped up. Now, this is this fire with fire. So while there's a power boost, there is an overconfidence and a single-mindedness that can certainly come with this. And you're going to be very, you're going to be so laser focused, and your eyes are going to be very clear on what you want to do. You might not have all the answers. There's Mercury's retrograde and Pluto's retrograde, but you're going to feel a lot more in tune with what's necessary in order to manifest, you know, go to A, then go to B to get to C kind of thing. And you're going to feel very impatient about it. And so you really want to be careful here of being unreflective, of being self-centered. And the thing is, this is going to be going from May 24th to July 5th. This is a really good window for you to approach anything, any kind of endeavor. If you're working from home, amazing. Doing anything having to do with the home, amazing. Anything like that. But just understand that that hyped up energy is going to be short-lived. It's not, you know, because that's what happens when we're talking about Aries energy. Okay. So anything that requires courage or taking a chance, anything like that, but it's just not sustainable over the long run. So take advantage of that. Okay. May 24th to July 5th. You have a good window there to get the ball rolling about in some area. So now May 29th, we have Mars in Aries is going to be conjuncting Jupiter in Aries, again in your fourth house. Oh my gosh, this one is big, guys. This is a very powerful aspect for new beginnings. So if you're starting a new business at home, if you are, again, you're figuring something out as far as you completely redoing your house, or you finding out that you're pregnant, or somebody is moving in with you, there's going to be some sort of big change, either within the family, the whole structure of home, or your ability to feel at home in something. You're just going to be so amped up to just go beyond whatever you're living right now in such a cool way. But it's a realistic way, right? Even though it's Jupiter, and Jupiter can be very sort of like cart before the horse, very expansive, very like, you know, anything is possible kind of thing. That is very like a very Jupiter energy. But I'm feeling like because of other aspects, because of these retrogrades, it's definitely going to give you an element of groundedness, but you're going to want to go beyond whatever you're at right now. You're going to possess a wealth of enthusiastic energy. You're going to be ready to take chances. You're not going to allow yourself to be pulled back because of fears. You're going to do it scared, do it anyway. And what's interesting is you're going to have the nerve to do stuff that, like, come July, like mid to the end of July, you're going to look back on this time period. You're going to be like, wow, I'm really proud of myself that I did that. Like, where did that come from? You know, it's like all of a sudden this energy comes over you and you're like, let me just, you know, send out those emails, send out the CV, the job, whatever, you know, your resume, whatever the case is. Let me try to strike a deal with that for that investment, whatever it is. And really good time to get pregnant. You just want to watch out, right? Because that's a very, again, fiery energy, overconfidence, boastiness, pushiness, overestimation. Just be careful of the negative stuff. And finally, Venus entering Taurus on May 28th in your fifth house. So, I mean, wow. Sizzle, sizzle for the love life there, my friends. Absolutely fab, especially if you're single. But even if you're not, that could just like turn up the heat a bit in the romance area. So, which is really, really great. But I do want to say that Taurus and Venus is very naturally sensual, right? Taurus is Venus and Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus, and it's ruled by the action arm of Venus. So it's about acting, action. It's very much about the five senses. It's very tangible. It's very much about money, feeling good, looking good, all of that, being just very, Venus and Taurus in the fifth house is just very attractive, very grounded, beautiful for making money, having to do with any creative effort that you're in, amazing for any relationships. Beautiful energy to connect with your children. It's just so good. But you just want to be careful of being too possessive with anyone or anything. That's the only thing. Besides that, it's amazing. Your appetite is just going to be very, very strong in that fifth house too. So be careful of like overeating and partying too much. You do want to just be careful of that. Anything? No, I mean, whatever you're doing in this fifth house, again, because it's Taurus, you're going to be going after whatever's solid, whatever's practical, whatever has the potential for long term. Really nice energy. Venus also rules your 10th and your fifth house here. So it's like amazing, having to do that creative energy, having to do with your career or relationship, having to do with the long term. Beautiful grounded energy. Relationships that you meet at this time are going to have a lasting quality to them, which is really, really nice. Okay. So, or working something out in a current relationship, you're going to figure something out finally once and for all. So let's pull a few cards here. See what we have. So we have Four of Wands, Four of Wands. Okay. So Four of Wands is definitely an energy of stability, strong foundation. I do call this the honeymoon card. Now, for those of you resonating with this, having to do with anything creative, this is your creativity being very much appreciated by a person or a group of people. Something that you're bringing to the table is very appreciated, and it's going to end up inciting a very strong foundation for you moving forward. Some of you may be having someone just come in and express their feelings for you out of nowhere, and you're just going to be like, what, where did that come from? So that could certainly happen here in the Four of Wands energy. The Four of Wands energy is also a family card, so there may be something going on with the family that's going to incite a feeling of, almost a feeling of like coming home, you know, which is nice. Okay, nice energy. Beautiful Knight of Cups. This is all about an offer coming in. So some sort of offer coming in that's going to really speak to your heart space. So this could be a job offer. This could be a really amazing conversation. Somebody just sharing, opening their heart and just sitting down and offering a solution to something in a way that's going to really speak to your heart, which is really nice. Okay, next card up, we have the Page of Wands. So the Page of Wands is the personification of fire. So we take Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. So there's some sort of new beginning that's going on here, having to do with romance, having to do with creativity, that's going to end up pushing you forward in a space where you're feeling like, yes, this is where I belong. You know, because it's Sagittarius energy is the landlord of the ninth house, which is the world. The ninth house is the world, you know, and it's your truth and it's your integrity and it's about expansion. So this is such a nice cycle. So much energy here. Beautiful. Now, many of you may have an offer that's coming in right now. And even though it may not be exactly like the money that you wanted or the status that you wanted or something like that, it's still going to end up being really good for you and you're still going to be really into it. But because it's a page, it's just something that's, you're going to be able to grow in it. So it's almost like you're going into something that you're going to end up growing in. So that could be a new opportunity in career, a relationship, or even making a decision with somebody where it's like, okay, let's kind of start slow, but it's so positive, you know, so positive. Let's pull one more. Knight of Pentacles. Okay. So the Knight of Pentacles, for a lot of you, this is going to be all about you expanding your finances, you making really good business decisions, you working harder than you are right now in order for something to be stable and secure, but you're going to be a lot more successful than you are right now, which is amazing. Now, if it has to do with relationship, you might be looking at your relationships. You might be looking at somebody that you're in a relationship with and saying, look, on paper, they look amazing. You know, they're very dependable, very loyal and all of that stuff, but there's something missing. And I have to figure out if this is something that I feel like I want to stay involved in over the long term. And it's really trying to reconcile that and figure out if that's something that you can actually do. And let me just pull a qualifier for that, the Queen of Cups. So this is Gemini and Cancer energy in astrology. So you're having a conversation about what you need in order to feel at home in this relationship, what you need in order to make that circumstance be successful. It's recognizing and having the emotional intelligence and being open enough to understand what's needed to make something work. So this is a really good energy, Capricorn. I feel like this is going to be a really important and a really good month. Change is always difficult. It doesn't mean it's going to be, you know, a walk in the park throughout, but whatever change is coming in and whatever is being released, it's because it's not meant for you over the long term. You just have to trust in that, you know? All right, my friends, thank you so much for hanging with me. I'll see you next time. Those of you who are new here, I try to start the month with astrology, and then every 10 days or so, I do tarot readings where I mix in the astrology for that time period. So I will see you guys next time. Until then. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.